Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provide a list of content warnings in the episode description.
Ready. I was just going to start it. I was ready. Am I good now?
Tip of the cap, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes from season 2 of Pretty Little Liars to talk about. We are getting so close to the finale.
After a down week last week, we're right back in it. We got all kinds of new stuff happening. We got all sorts of things swirling around.
And we met Vivian Darkbloom.
Yes. Mm-hmm. She was at the hairdresser. At the salon.
Yeah, you go to the salon with Viv?
Mm-hmm. Did you understand that reference when that came out, or had you not read Lolita yet?
I had not, but I
haven't read Lolita, so it didn't click for me when it popped up.
It never does. They call it out like boldly too, and I had to be like, I should Google this. I didn't. When I took my Nabakov class, we didn't read Lolita.
Oh, okay.
We read, I think, everything else.
Got it. Okay.
Because like everyone only knows Lolita, and we talked a little bit about Lolita, but really it was or if we did read Lolita, we didn't read it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
We read the one about chess. I think it was one of his first novels. It's like it's really good actually. I mean, it was then. It was really interesting. Yeah, we read his other works.
I'm sure it's been around for a while.
And we talked about like the whole thing around like some of the rumors around him and Lolita and why the author wrote that book and
got it. Okay.
But I don't think we read it. I don't think I've ever read Lolita.
Yeah, I haven't either. But I was curious because I knew you took the Nabokov class.
I was taking that when we met.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. I might have read it. I'm almost positive we didn't, though.
Yeah, I just talked about it.
I think we were going to, but then we had the whole school shooting thing.
That puts a damper on a few things.
Yeah, and then they just she didn't make us do anything for the rest of the quarter or semester or whatever.
Okay. Are we ready for a summary then?
We're ready for a summary.
Yeah. Okay, so episode 39 or season 2, episode 17.
Thank
I started
you.
doing that. The Blonde Leading the Blind. The friends gather in Spencer's kitchen. Spencer asks Hannah for the thumb drive from Caleb. She hesitates, but she gives it over. Hannah mentions that Caleb is still asking whose cell phone it is, and Hannah wants to tell him to stop, but the friends all disagree. Stop working on the phone. On the drive that they have is the Alley video, the I Know You Want to Kiss Me video that we've seen. But we then get a cut to another video of Ian in Allison's room hiding a camera. We then see Garrett and Jenna come in. And at this point, Garrett is leading Jenna in, so we know that it's like the night of, or we at least, it seems like that it's at least the night of the murder, or the night Allison died. And Ian asks where Jason is, and Garrett mentions that he's passed out. I think he mentions like something like a 6-pack and like a blunt will do that to you. Mm-hmm. Ian had just left Allison and said she wouldn't give over the videos. Garrett's like, hey, you went too far, and that's why I wanted out of this. And Spencer, outside of watching the video, clarifies that Caleb's obviously seen this. And Hannah says, yes, I want him out before he's on A's hit list. We're going to cut back to the video. Ian found the box that Jason gave to Aria recently. And Garrett opens it and hands it to Garrett. And Garrett opens it up and goes, that's weird. And then the video cuts out. The friends all then agree that NAT was in Rosewood on the night Allison was murdered. It's nice that they're including Jenna in NAT now. She's not just a cheerleader.
She might have been younger, but she was definitely part of the club.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, girls can be weirdos too. Spencer shows Emily a text she received of Toby and her making out that says, I warn you. And that she got it when the rest of the friends were downstairs the night of they're all watching the video the night before. Emily says, I thought you were keeping distance. And Spencer says, I couldn't. Toby then calls and Spencer asks Emily to cover for her on the phone. And Toby is like over picking up his tools like at Spencer's house since he got let go of his job. Oh wait, no, it's the same night. Sorry. He's over picking up his tools since he got let go of the job on Spencer's house. Emily's like, oh, like, I miss you. And Toby says, like, hey, well, like, it's really confusing. Spencer, like, was gonna tell me something. And she was, like, ready to, I think, but she didn't. And Emily's like, well, things changed. Toby says, I don't think this is about me and her. And then Emily is just like, oh, gotta go. Like, Spencer's dad's home. Gotta hang up. And Toby's like, well, should I just like come back later when he's not here? Or like, is Spencer telling me that like you need to hang out? The friends all talk about keeping distance from their respective partners. Arya is sad about Fitz avoiding her and she wants to meet up with him. The friends all notice that Arya is looking over at Holden and Emily calls Holden Arya's beard. To which she then has to explain to her straight friends what that means. Hannah's like, oh yes, I know I know this, like he's gay. Arya says, no, he isn't. The friends all ask if he's ever tried to kiss her, and then she says no, and they all agree, well, he's gay.
I love that that's a litmus test.
Right, exactly.
Has this man tried to kiss you?
Arya, you're that irresistible. Has this man made a move? It's very high school. Arya leaves the table and goes to talk to him. Holden says, hey, like, you know, thanks for like covering and hanging out. And he's like, no, you helped me like come back to society. It's great. But it doesn't quite clarify what that exactly means. They then agree to call and talk later, and Arya turns to leave and watches Holden check out a girl who walks by. So then she's like, huh. Caleb is doing spy shit at a coffee shop, unblurring the video from the hard drive of Garrett.
In public outside.
Uh-huh. I mean, you know, who knows? But then he looks up and sees Garrett. I do really like this scene. This is like classic like spy shit. It's just like they're reading newspaper like at the like coffee shop scoping something out, and he gets up and it's like, uh-oh, this other guy is like getting up from the table.
Uh-huh.
And Caleb looks up and sees Garrett at a table like in front of him. Caleb then packs up his things and goes to leave. Whoops, my foot slipped.
No.
But Garrett stops him. Garrett's like, and then Caleb's like freezing, like turning up, and Garrett's like, oh, you forgot your keys. And Garrett's like, I know what it's like to like get so wrapped up in something you completely forget everything. And Caleb just like awkwardly grabs it and walks away. The friends all gather around the box, not Arya's box, Allison's box at Arya's. Emily is curious about it, and Hannah tries to dissuade them from investigating anymore. It's like, we need to stop investigating. We're not going to find anything else. I don't know what we're doing. Grabs the doll, and then the next opens up. They then find a note from the Halloween episode that says, it's my turn to torture you. But it's revealed on the back. It says, you think you're safe on the outside, but you're not when I'm on the inside. And then there's another note that says, it also says on the note, scared yet? You should be, bitch. Next time it'll be your face, not this pumpkin. And Arya's like, wait, don't you remember on Halloween? And we get a flashback as everybody remembers Halloween. The friends are all walking home from Noel's party, and they see on Allison's porch it's completely trashed, and there's a knife in her pumpkin with that note. Allison, my notes weren't exactly clear. The note of saying next time it'll be your face.
The note they found in the doll.
Yeah, the second note they found in the doll.
Mm-hmm.
And Allison's like, oh, this was just Jason's beer buddies. Like, they're the ones who did this. And the friends all go to leave, and Allison's like, why don't you, like make a night of it? Like, stay over. And they're, like, all kind of, like, hesitant. Like, I kind of want to get home, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry for, like, the prank. Like, and you know what? I'll, like, make it up to all you. Back in the present, Arya looks at the note and see it's an invite to Noel's party, and that it's signed A. So now they all know that A predates them. Noel hangs with his buddies in the hall as Mona rounds the corner and hurries by and goes to goes to her locker. Hannah then goes to talk to her, and Mona asks if they're even friends, and like she's been calling her for 2 days. Mona then decides to go, like, grabs a necklace and walks up to Noel and is just like, here, take this back. Like, I don't want this back. Like, you know, I don't want this at all. And he's just kind of like, what do I do if I don't take it? Like, just being an absolute ass, like being the worst. And then she says something like, you can give it to, like, the next, like, trashy person you date. He then takes it from her and throws it in the trash, like, nah. As Mona walks away and goes to cry in the bathroom. Hannah follows her and says sorry for, like, not being there for her and tries to comfort her. But just makes things worse of just, like, you know, you don't have to, like, debase yourself for Noel and just talking about, well, you're, like, worthless. Well, not that. Like, just keep stepping in it. But it's, like, a positive message that she's trying to get across. And eventually Mona kind of understands this and is like, I never knew a person like Noel that could lie like that. It's just second nature to him. Hannah invites her out to dinner. Out to drinks. I wrote dinner before I knew what it was. They're going out for drinks. And Mona agrees and then leaves the bathroom. Hannah checks the mirror before she leaves the bathroom as well. And then we get a shot of Jenna emerging from a bathroom stall. It makes way more sense when it's like we see Noel and Jenna are like shacking up together.
In cahoots.
But just right now is just like she just overheard them like Hannah comforting her friend because her friend got broken up with and the guy's a real ass. It's like, oh no, Jenna. Arya tries to call Fitz and is like, I want to discuss a relationship face to face, whether it's over or not. And I feel like we just need to like hash that out. So meet me at 8 in front of the clock. And goes on to describe the clock. If he comes, there's still a chance. But if not, then the message machine cuts off. Fitz sits in his office and sees a voicemail on his phone. I didn't quite put it together that this is like the voicemail on your phone. Does your voicemail on your phone cut off? I thought that was only like old answering machines. I digress. He hesitates on deleting it. It's just like view, delete.
But it's also from an unknown number because she called off someone else's phone.
Oh, right. But then decides not to, which is very funny. Additionally, it's like, wouldn't you want to listen to that?
Yeah. I mean, even when I get like spam calls, I like see what they are first.
Right. And I at least want to know if it's if my car's warranty is like out of date.
Or if I'm going to be arrested.
Right. The IRS is coming after me. Again.
I think that one was real, honey.
Well, they can't arrest me twice. Toby gets out of his truck and goes to climb up the scaffolding outside of Spencer's house, thus revealing what was in that A scene from a few episodes back. The camera then pans to the loose screw that is like loosening, and Toby is going to loosen the top bolts on things as the entire thing comes crashing down.
Toby's stunt double jumps to the scaffolding.
It's really funny. We then cut to Spencer getting a phone call. Toby is in the hospital with Spencer. Spencer apologizes to him for not allowing him to like come inside and like see her. And Toby says, wouldn't have made like any difference. Ren then comes in and introduces himself. And like, I'm your doctor. And just shamelessly like starts like Spencer, like doing like flirty. And that wasn't the right voice, but just like flirting with like Spencer. Like
I'm a lucky lady.
I'm flirting when it sounds very like mean and authoritative, like you got in trouble. Yeah, and just starts like trying to like shamelessly flirting with Spencer. And Spencer's like, oh, it's Toby's like just like looking at them like what is going on. And Spencer's like, oh, he used to date Melissa. Ren says, oh, I was, until something got in the way. Maybe a 16-year-old.
Maybe your creepiness.
Yeah. Ren then leaves like, Spencer. That's the voice. And Toby asks, like, Spencer, do you have something to tell me? Spencer then gets a text from A. Almost got him. Toby won't be so lucky next time. The other three friends sync up over Toby being okay. Arya wonders if Jenna would hurt Toby, and maybe she was just trying to scare him. Emily says if Garrett and her broke up, like, why? Like, how would she, like, why and how would she, like, do this to Toby? We then see Jenna is in Toby's hospital room. He wakes up and she berates him. You are not supposed to go back to that house. You are not supposed to go back at all. Jenna says he needs to be stronger. Nobody else knows you as well as I do. Toby says, well, Spencer. Jenna says, you'll never be happy with her. And she's haunted. And Toby says, you shouldn't be here. Exactly. You know, as Garrett says, you know, she makes all the rest of us look like cowards. Toby says, you shouldn't be here. And Jenna says, we're family, whether you like it or not. I don't like this return to this. We don't need any more of this Pretty Little Liars. Thank you. No more of this cruel intentions crap. Hannah answers the door to Caleb. Caleb asks, what the hell is up with the phone? He decoded another sequence, and he finds out that this is all about Allison's murder, isn't it? Caleb asks why the friends are looking into a crime that someone confessed to. Caleb says, tell me so I don't imagine something worse. Hannah says, it's not as bad as you imagine, and I'm afraid for you, so please stop working on these videos. Caleb says, I get that, and the people, like, in the town are, like, watching me. He said, I looked up and saw Garrett 2 tables away watching. Hannah then grabs a thumb drive from him and blends it and says, you are out of the phone tech business. Leave this to the geniuses at Apple. Emily then goes to visit Toby in the hospital and sees Jenna in the hallway and yells at Jenna for coming here. You shouldn't be here.
I love when Emily's mad.
It's great. They argue over seeing Toby, and Jenna says, you all should have left him alone. Emily asks if she's, are you threatening me? And Jenna says, I'm just stating fact. Spencer then arrives by the elevator, and as Jenna goes to greet in, it immediately greets her like, hello, Spencer. Spencer's like, what the hell did I walk into? Ella then asks Ari about Toby's accident to make sure he's okay. Ella then follows up about Ari's real thing about going out on a date with Holden. And like, why do you have to go all the way to Philadelphia to catch up? And Ari's like, oh, it's this restaurant. Like, I really want to go there. That's where he's going to take me. And Ella's like, okay, well, perfect. I'll be like driving you there at 7. And then Ari's like, I don't want to be driven. At night, Emily and Spencer watch Toby sleep in his hospital room. Emily's inside the room where Spencer's on the outside looking in. Imagery. Symbolism. Emily then goes to talk to her. And Spencer says, Jenna's right. I'm putting Toby in danger. It's not enough to try and protect him. She asks Emily for a favor in doing something that she might hate her for. And Emily asks what she wants her to do. The next scene, Emily's back in Toby's hospital room as he wakes up. Emily's acting all weird, and he's like, what's wrong? Emily says it's Spencer and explains that Spencer was seeing someone else before her and Toby got back together. He's back now, and things, like, you know, they weren't right, and they aren't right again. Toby says, that's not possible, and why are you telling me this? Emily says, because I can't watch you get hurt. Toby says, no, why are you telling me and not Spencer? Emily says Spencer couldn't and goes to leave. Toby asks who it is, but we don't hear Emily's answer. Ari and Holden
No, Emily says that Spencer should tell her. That it's not her place to tell him.
Is that what she said?
I think so.
I missed that then.
I think so.
Ari and Holden get dropped off. Holden asks, like, hey, like, do you not like lying to your, like, mom? And Ari says, like, well, you know, what she doesn't know doesn't hurt her. Holden then makes sure it's like, you're sure about, like, this, like, whole, like, lying thing to her. And Ari's like, yes, it's, like, really important. Holden's like, okay. Just wanted to make sure. Are you also lying to your friends about this? Ari's like, I don't, but my friends do wonder about you. Holden says, I know what they're thinking. Like, I'm not gay. And Ari's like, okay, like, what are you? He then says, okay, later, see you at 11. And they go their separate ways. And Arya goes and waits by the clock. Fitz talks to a student about his I thought it was going to be a paper. It was like a story. It was like a fictional story.
Like a creative writing.
Yeah. And Fitz argues with the student. It's just like, your story, it's just like contrived. And like, it's just unbelievable. This character like leaves his fiance to like go follow his like true love. Like, what person would do this? Student then goes to leave, and or like fights by it. It's like, well, of course, like, like I think that totally makes sense. Like, true love wins all. And then like the student goes to leave, and then it's just like, whoa, it reminds me of this quote about like being bold. And that's what my story is about.
I never want to be in a writing competition with this kid. He sounds annoying.
He's very much so.
Let me write a story about someone leaving their fiance the night before the wedding because they found true love at the hotel bar.
Well, we did watch a movie where, some Pierce Brosnan tried to do that. What was his name in Mamma Mia? Sam. Sam tried to do that. He tried to come back, but she was gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he was getting married under false pretenses.
Right. Mm-hmm. It sounds like the kid in this story was writing something similar.
I guess so, but why are you getting married? Don't get married unless you want to.
Exactly. You don't have to go through the tropes that these people are writing.
No, or Mamma Mia. You probably want to know what kid's yours.
Yes, exactly. Although having a fun time in Greece does seem fun, and especially set to ABBA.
For her 3 dads seems like a great move.
I know, it all ends up great.
It's a great movie.
It's a fantastic film.
Mamma Mia is a 10 out of 10.
We watched it like a few days ago. Fantastic film.
Anyway, here we go again.
Yes. And then we see Arya sitting alone next to the clock. Spencer looks sad out her window as the rain comes down. We then see Emily enter her room and look at her sad. Fitz listens to Arya's voicemail in his office and then deletes it. And we again see Arya sitting alone. Ashley walks into the kitchen to see the blender in the trash. It's just like, did you and the blender get in the fight? And Hannah's like, well, Caleb and I had a fight. Ashley pesters her to talk about it. And Hannah's like, well, did you ever keep a secret from Dad? And Ashley's like, well, not as many as he kept from me, obviously. But yeah, I guess a few. She's like, well, I never told Tom how much I hated this like painting that he made that like hangs up on his wall. And oh, there was like this one time his best friend made a pass at me. I knew that would hurt him, so I just kept it a secret. You can tell your partner about that. Yeah, it's more important.
If one of your friends hit on me, I'd yell really loudly so everyone would be
fantastic. Aware. Like I would much rather want to know that so then I can like stop being friends with the person.
Yes.
And then what's the big secret you're keeping from Caleb? Ashley asks if she lied to him, and Hannah's like, it's nothing, and goes to leave to hang out with Mona. Ren then comes in to check on Toby. Ren asks if he can get anything, and Toby's like, just some answers. They love doing these prompts. Like Caleb did that same thing. It's like, I'm just thinking about what to get you for dinner. And he's like, how about the truth? They got to set someone up to then be like...
The boys have to be the drama.
I know, it's great. Toby asks him about him and Spencer, and Ren says, I kissed her. But then Ren starts putting on this whole the innocent act. I was under the impression you two were over. It didn't... it didn't seem to bother you when the man was in the hospital bed and you're openly flirting with her. And Toby's like, and then there's like, you were over, like, no harm, no foul, that kind of thing. Toby says, you should go. My left arm is broken, but my right arm is fine. Mona and Hannah walk to go out to a bar. They discuss their fake IDs. They then see Noel and Jenna having dinner together, and Hannah's just like, what is happening? And Mona is just like, wait, why are you more upset than I am? Pretty much. Hannah then goes to walk ahead as Mona eyes them sadly. Toby collects his things at the hospital as it rains. He turns around and sees Ren just working in the hall like nothing's wrong. Arya sits alone in the rain watching cars drive by. She sees a car stop and in the middle of the road. Fitz gets out and calls to her. He walks up and they make out.
They kiss in the rain. Why don't you ever pick me up and kiss me in the rain?
I know.
How steady are you when you're holding me and it's slippery outside?
Guess we'll put it to the test.
Brenton's been doing more front squats lately, just for...
I promise to, in the future, block traffic for you.
I would prefer if you didn't. It makes me feel really uncomfortable when people do shit like that.
We then get a helicopter shot of Philadelphia. Arya and Fitz are in his car. Fitz is like, this is dangerous, you know, but I'm more worried about you, and I want to make sure you're sure about this. Arya says, I can only be sure of things with you, and they kiss. Fitz says, how are we going to do this? And Arya's like, I have no idea.
These crazy kids.
These crazy kids.
Too bad one of them's an adult.
This is where it's like scenes like this where I have a tough time with the read on, like, it's all from Arya's perspective, which it is, but like they're indulging a little bit too much. Caleb meets with Emily and Spencer and mentions that the flash drive is completely toast. That's why and Emily's like, why? And Caleb's like, well, obviously, like, it's important. That's why I keep a copy of the files. And he's like, I need you to keep this a secret from Hannah because I love her and I want to protect her. Communication is key, folks. Spencer says, I don't want to lie to you, or lie to Hannah or you. And Caleb's like, well, I need some answers from you. What is Hannah so afraid of me finding? Arya waits happily as her mom honks the horn. Ella asks, where's Holden? And Arya's like, as like Simon and Garfunkel start to play. But then Holden jogs up with ice cream and he's just like, hey, just like Arya wanted some sweets. And like, which one do you want, Ella? Like, this is a very good move, I feel like, just for what I got it for the three of us. And like, you, Mrs. Montgomery, our driver, thank you so much for driving us out here. I really appreciate you letting me go on this date with your daughter. Arya, Spencer, and Emily all meet up. Spencer's like, well, she told Caleb, like, just general ideas, like when he asked about stuff. Like that Jenna is trying to frame them, Garrett is helping her, and despite what the police believe, Ian's confession doesn't tell the whole story. Arya's like, I don't like that Hannah's not involved. The three then check the flash drive and see the further video of them all in Allison's room with the box. Garrett has the box. Jenna asks what's inside of it as they hear Allison coming. Garrett says, like, you're going down to Ian. And Ian's like, well, we're all going down. And Ian shows off the hidden camera. Garrett's like, what is wrong with you? And Ian says, once you're in the club, you can't get out. The video cuts out as they begin to wrestle. Spencer says, maybe we can give this to the police and it'll all be over. They hear a bang outside. And Emily says, wasn't Toby getting back from the hospital later today? And Spencer says, I thought so too. And they see Toby's truck in her yard. They then go down to investigate, and Emily finds the keys in the truck and a note for Spencer. Spencer reads it and says, he's gone. Sad. We then see photos of the four friends all kissing their respective partners. So we get Arya and Fitz, Emily and Maya, the list.
Was it Emily and Samara? Or was it Emily and Maya?
It was the photo booth photo.
Okay.
And then the glove hand grabs the photos one by one, cuts them in half, and burns the one that the partner is on.
But only on two.
Only on two, right. But I'm assuming it was just like going back, because it was Arya and Fitz and Spencer and Toby. The end.
All right. First and foremost, what's Holden's angle? What's this boy trying to do?
I know. It's so funny when we get like the bruises later. I was like, oh, Fight Club. I don't know. And especially like, I think the sexuality thing's just probably a big giant red herring, and maybe he's part of like Mike's break-in crew. He's
going to Philly?
He's going out for different jobs.
Got it. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's going out for different jobs.
Exactly. Yeah. He's getting called in. It's like he's in a Michael Mann movie. The best of the best.
I love it.
As Holden says to Arya, like, you can't have anything you don't want to walk out on in 30 seconds flat. But I honestly couldn't guess at this moment, because it's very funny when he does have like the giant bruise. So I'm like,
that's
well, he's getting
the next episode.
So it's like he's getting up to some like
something
physically violent shit. But like my first thing is like, oh, Fight Club.
Or does he just have a bruise and he's doing something else?
It's so gross. It's like the grossest bruise. Yeah, he could be doing something else. I don't know. Maybe he's got a kink and he's getting beat up for it. It's part of the kink. You know,
Pretty
you know what I
Little
mean.
Liars went very, very sex positive
Yeah.
real fast.
Exactly.
Honey, this was still ABC Family. Pre-freeform.
Arya, let me tell you all about like the exchange between a dom and a sub.
Good God. Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see as we unpack that.
Oh, okay.
What Holden's what is Holden's angle?
Right. Mm-hmm. What are you doing, bud?
Why?
Until then, I will imagine him in a Michael Mann movie.
Perfect. Why doesn't A want Spencer and Toby together?
They're dangerous. They're dangerous.
Because they look into things. Why doesn't Spencer just tell Toby?
Yes, totally. And why doesn't A want them together? Because like that's like big time torture time for like Spencer. That's her pressure point. It's Toby. It's her weak spot.
It's her weak spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like she can continue to apply pressure on that, and it's like, ooh, I can continue to make you squirm and make you feel awful. So that's like Spencer loathes herself for having to for thinking she has to break up with. I was like, she doesn't have to do that. I'm giving too much credit for thinking that she has to break up with Toby. She does not. Just tell Toby.
Do you think that's driven by Jenna?
No.
You think it's driven by?
Yeah. A messing with them. I still think A is different from Jenna.
Okay.
I think that's a different track.
Do you think Jenna knows about A?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't think so. But well, no, that's not entirely true. I've said the opposite before. I think maybe Jenna does know about A and is like scared of A. Like that's the one person that could get to Jenna.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think Jenna's whole operation is different. So like the gloved hand was probably Garrett or Noel doing that, or when I say gloved hand on the scaffolding. That's probably who like did that, because obviously that was connected to Jenna, and Jenna being like, you shouldn't have gone back there. You weren't supposed to go back there.
Why? Yeah, I also am like, who are you trying to hurt with that? It's not like Spencer was going to climb the scaffolding.
Know. Right, exactly. And especially Jenna being like, why did you go back there? It's just like, you think...
So leave my tools?
Right, you think Spencer's going to break it down? You think any of the hasting like parents are going to do like lift a single finger to do work that they hired someone for? No.
Yeah, no.
Work in general. They have, as far as we know, more money than God. So they're not going to go out there and unscrew a bolt and take down the scaffolding. That's the help's job.
That's fair. How much does Garrett know about Caleb's involvement, or was that purely coincidental?
No, Garrett knows.
Garrett knows.
Garrett knows that Caleb's involved.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Garrett knows exactly what he's doing. I don't think Garrett knows exactly like how involved, but I think he's like at least like knows that like Caleb is connected. So it's like shaking him down.
Okay.
But it does seem, well, I don't know. That's actually pretty disproven, because it's like he really goes after Caleb these couple episodes. So he definitely knows Caleb's doing fucking something.
Why was A going after Allie?
I'm assuming an aggrieved party of some sort.
Okay.
That Allison did. Because Allison really fucked with people. Or it's a I feel like the note of when I'm inside and you're outside is very like twin twist, or it's someone that is like locked away, like when you're in prison. I'm in prison, I'm locked up in a mental asylum or something, and I could still get to you.
Okay.
That's what that reads to me as. So that's where like I think also like potentially a twin twist could work that way, because then it's like, oh, I was the one who was locked away from the outside world and never like mentioned again, because our parents like thought you were the one and I was the aberrant one, and I just ceased to exist. But it could have been someone else was locked up in one of those sort of things. Inside outside makes it seem like they were locked away.
Interesting. You really read into this.
It's my job.
I don't know if the writers did, but carry on. Fuck it up.
Someone has to. Hannah
gives horrible pep talks.
Yes.
Mona's
It's
bathroom
so good.
combo.
Yeah, I love the combo. And I mean, that's why they're friends, of Mona being like, okay, like, just thank you. you can stop now.
You mean well, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love Hannah stumbling over words because Hannah is like so blunt to the point. I feel like a lot of the show tries to be... I see how people can read of like, Hannah's the ditzy blonde, but Hannah's not ditzy.
No.
Like, Hannah's just like blunt. It's blunt. It's just blunt.
What she doesn't care about, she doesn't care about.
No, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, it's very funny of just being like, okay, like, she can't even feign to care about Noel and just like feign to have a different opinion of him.
Mm-hmm.
It was just probably like, whenever Mona and I hung out, we just didn't talk about him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that talk. And you know, Mona, you are better than Noel.
Emily's new confidence levels.
Let's go.
We're knocking Jenna. We're lying to Toby.
Okay, yeah, knocking Jenna, that's great.
But we're lying to Toby with our full chest.
To lie, but lying on behalf of Spencer.
Uh-huh. Like that's the least Emily thing you can think of.
I guess so. But Emily's also very good at I will do things for other people. This isn't really something. This isn't her lie. So it's not eating her up as much. And it's just like, I will help you, my friend, do this really
impossible task.
Exactly. You know, essentially break up with him. Awful, horrible. Don't need to do it. And Toby, of course, being like, well, is Spencer telling you to do this? Why?
Yeah, why?
Uh-huh.
Why are
this isn't
you
like
doing this?
And then Emily being like, especially on the phone, like, oh no, her dad's home. Oh, don't you hear that garage door opening? Gotta go.
Even though he's in the yard.
Right. Uh-huh. Right outside. Oh no, like something caught on fire. But it's, yeah. You know, Emily falling on the sword for no reason.
What was that horrible Fitz and student story scene? What was that about?
Oh my God. It's like they had to, like, they felt the need to write in something for him to have a revelation rather than just him thinking about things and then coming to a conclusion.
Yeah.
It was like, no, the universe is sending me a sign.
Or even like a couple kissing in the hallway would have been better.
Right, exactly. It's like, no, this is his student who wrote out
and he gave it a low grade because he was miserable. He's a bad teacher.
It really is. And it's
very
also
very biased.
I gave you a B because I didn't believe. I found your story unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like a good reason to give a B. You didn't make me believe
unless the requirements were to write a believable character. Yeah.
Well, which I guess like that would be Fitz's argument is like people don't do that in real life, and then rather than like you didn't make me believe that this character would do that on the page. So it is 100% Fitz being like, well, my life problems resulted in you getting this B. So then even when the student leaves after opening his mind like fucking Goodwill Hunting, he's like, oh well, maybe I will regrade your paper after I fix things with the high school
kiss the high schooler I'm dating.
It's so funny. The worst teacher.
Bad. He's the worst adult in the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Him and Ren.
Ren is bad.
But Ren doesn't have a position of power.
Yeah, young adult, I guess we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, you got Byron.
That's what I was going to say. If we expand it out, we also have Tom committing psychological warfare. Men inflicting pain on their families that they aggrieve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, making a point maybe.
I don't know. Maybe they're saying something.
Yeah. But,
interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely worse than Ren. Ren is just like a little like spineless dude, a spineless creeper. And yeah, this Fitz is bad and extremely misguided.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, the clock tower scene of like getting out of the car and running up in the rain, this like very romantic scene, it just feels a little too indulgent for me to ever like really think that the show knows what it's doing with them.
No, they make them a very like romantic love story. It's very
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet, forbidden love.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just like, meh.
Mm-hmm.
Could have just been like
Creepy.
called it out. So yeah. You don't need to hear my further thoughts. You got it.
Toby giving the truck back.
It's Toby right there. It's Toby on the lawn. You know what Spencer went through to get that? Well, she felt really bad internally about it, but like never had to like actually like really like have any sort of like consequences from it. But
she did.
She went through hell. So it is really sad to see Toby being like, I can't have this truck from you. It reminds me too much. I don't care how convenient it is to carry around all my carpentry tools. It's really, I don't know why, but every time I think of carpentry and like movies and film, just thinking of like Toby as carpenter, I always think of other like famous actors like that were carpenters, like Kurt Russell in Overboard, whatever. It just always pops into my mind. Harrison Ford famously was a carpenter that like showed up at like George Lucas's house or something, or and so that's when he got cast in Star Wars.
That's so funny.
I don't know. It just always comes to mind.
Maybe it's because he's destined for great things.
That's right. Toby is destined for great things.
Is he?
If the world would let him have it. Toby's strong, but good Lord, is the world against him.
It doesn't get better. How much will Caleb learn?
Oh, he learns the whole thing next episode.
Like all about A though?
Yeah.
Like I guess he just doesn't have like the details. Like they don't tell him each.
No, we don't get the scene of Hannah explaining literally everything to him.
Yeah, we just
it gets a cutaway. But I think in that scene she's telling him everything.
Okay.
So like you should tell Toby, Spencer, and then get over. It's very funny that it'll show up more next episode, but like Hannah's like, I'm protecting him, and then Caleb being like, I'm protecting her, to highlight how it's nice to at least know, at least in that aspect, that the show is just like, all right, this is really stupid. But the Spencer and Caleb are it's not rational. It's never rational. So
what are Noel and Jenna up to?
Ill shit.
Really, those two?
I know. Who could know? Definitely menacing some shit. And I think that's like when Noel was with Mona, he was getting her to probably do things for him that were being maybe handed down from Jenna.
Okay. And
so like I think he has now roped it. Like I said, he could have been the one that unscrews the scaffolding. Since it seems like he's now the one that's like under the second in command to Jenna, since Garrett is on the outs. This really makes it seem like Jenna just has this interconnected web of like boys and men willing to die for her. My queen. Yes, I shall go out and slay them.
Oh, is that not how it's supposed to be?
It is.
Okay, good. Because I was like, I'm collecting. So far, I've got you. I think I'm just going to stick to one.
Okay, good. Whew.
I mean, I got the corgi.
Right. But in the courts,
I don't know if he'd die for me, though. He loves me.
Right. But he's not quite the same. He's the trusted like partner where it's like treated better than everybody else, like on the list. Like, even say the lower people that are like your servants carrying out your will are taking care of them more. They're more important on the totem pole.
Got it.
So that's what I think. It's just like in classic medieval fantasy, like politicking, like she is like this like temptress that has like all these men and assassins willing to do like political maneuvering and ill shit for her.
I love it.
That's what it seems like. Like, I'm still convinced that in the background, like, Wilden is doing things for her.
And then that being said, so then does Noel know about the videos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait, does Noel know about the videos? No, I don't think actually Noel does. He only knows what he has to know.
That's right. That's how you keep it.
So I think she would keep it only between the people that were involved in it, like her and Garrett. And since it seems like that was already taken care of, she's done.
There we go.
So Never mind. Well, that's a theory corner thing.
Okay. That was the end of my questions. I do want to know, I think from what I remember, I just looked this up too with Lolita. Vivian Darkbloom, I believe, is one of the women who helps them kidnap the girl.
Oh, got it.
So she helps the girl disappear.
Got it.
Just throwing that out there. I don't know how applicable that will be as we go on, but it's a good tidbit.
I think that's definitely a good little tidbit there.
From what I briefly Googled, because I have no memories of that book.
It sounds like you probably didn't read it.
We both know that could not be true. I don't remember books particularly well. Yeah, she's the female writing partner and helps him with this plot to kidnap Lolita.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, isn't that interesting? What was Vivian in Pretty Little Liars doing?
I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we take a break and then go to the next episode?
Sounds good. Episode 40, A Kiss Before Lying.
Season 2, episode 18.
Thank you very much. I didn't do it on this one. Arya, Spencer, and Emily watch over Caleb's shoulder of the same box video. They see this time that the contents of the box are spilled out all over the floor. The friends and everybody starts receiving calls from Hannah one by one. First Emily, then Arya, then Caleb, and Spencer is the last one. Who notes she is the last one, and then decides to pick up. Hannah's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What's up? Like, you want to hang out?" And like Spencer's like, "Oh, like I'm hanging with my family and things." But then Emily drops a plate in the background, and Arya's like, "Emily, are you all right?" Which Hannah then overhears, and Hannah says, "Okay, well, say hi to your family for me," and hangs up. Back to the video, they zoom in on an ID that fell out of the box. And so they zoom in on it. It's kind of blurry, but then they see it's a photo of Allison wearing a black wig. And the friends all say that she had another fake ID. Why would she need this one? Emily then leaves everybody else to go meet up with Maya. Arya then goes to leave, and Spencer's like, "Hey, why don't you sleep over? Like, let's hang out. Like, it'll be all like, let's just hang out for tonight." And Arya's like, "Well, I'm actually just going to hang out with Holden." Spencer's like, "What? Like, when were you two friends?" And Arya's like, "Well, we've just kind of gotten along now." Spencer asks, "Oh, like, it's a shame that you haven't heard back from Fitz yet. Have you heard anything?" And Arya says no. Spencer is surprised that she didn't hear anything back from him and just never saw him. And Arya's like, "Oh, have you spoken to Toby?" And Spencer says no and starts breaking down crying. Spencer says she feels like the reason they're lying to Hannah. And Arya says, "No, it's okay. Sometimes you have to lie to your friends, even if you hate doing it." We then cut to Arya in the car with Fitz, and he notices she's all distracted. Arya says lying to her friends is really hard, and Fitz says, "I didn't ask you to do that. Like, I didn't ask you to lie to them." Arya says, I trust them, just not other people." She's starting to sound more and more like her father. Fitz asks about her parents, and Arya then says, "Well, it's like an icy situation still." Hannah is eating dinner with her mom. Ashley asks what's going on, and Hannah says, "Well, my friends are all just being really annoying." Ashley says we should talk about the elephant in the room. Your dad talked to Kate, and everything's going to be okay. It's going to be A-okay at school. If we don't take the high road, we'll both end up looking like trash. And Hannah promises to try and be nice to Kate. Byron picks up Holden and Arya. Byron leaves them in the car as he goes to get money out of the ATM. Holden and Arya then seek up on details over the supposed dinner that they had. And then Byron comes back in and asks about, and they have like this like joking back and forth of like, my dad's definitely going to ask about the appetizers. So then when Byron comes back in and asks about the appetizers, Arya smiles knowingly. They're getting along. Hannah talks to the friends and asks what they did at school and asks what they did last night. And they all mentioned they were studying. And then they redirect attention by saying, "Hey, isn't it for Kate's first day at school?" Hannah then notices that Spencer is wearing an undershirt, and she's like, "Is that like, are you wearing a men's undershirt under your like sweater there? Is that Toby's?" And they all look at her concerned, and she's like, "I'm doing fine, okay?" Kate then comes over and greets Hannah at her table and introduces herself to all the friends. Spencer looks at her weird and is like, haven't we met before? And Kate's like, no, definitely haven't. Kate's like, oh, yes, you're right, actually, at the wedding. Spencer's like, it wasn't that. And then looks weirded out. Hannah's then like, okay, Kate, like, let's all go walk you to class. And she gets a text from A that says, call off your techno boy toy. Right, tell the cops what your mom keeps in the lasagna box. You were very excited this came up.
This text is just like A plus A work. Like, it is one of the best known. It's well known. It's world renowned, if you will.
Techno boy toy.
Call off your techno boy toy, or else I'll tell the police what your mom keeps in the lasagna box. Like, the whole thing is a code.
Like, huh? Okay, so then
having seen the show, if I watch this episode out of order, I'd have to really think to figure out what the hell was in the lasagna box.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure give me another season and I'll forgot. Well, we're paying a lot of attention, so I don't know.
You have a better like memory for details in shows too.
Yeah, especially when we do it like for the podcast. Like way more, because I'm writing up notes.
You're like paying attention.
Yeah.
It's almost like taking notes helps you pay attention.
Isn't that interesting?
We went to college and we learned this by doing a podcast.
Yeah, money well spent. Spencer, Emily, and Aria discuss the fake ID, and then they see Noel. And the friends all discuss how weird it is that he's dating Jenna now. Spencer wonders if Allison's fake ID was to get closer to A. Hannah then walks up, like, kind of looking off, and asks if Caleb has the video file somewhere because, like, A thinks he does. The friends are all like, oh, A must be, like, out of the loop. Like, you know, you destroyed it. And Hannah's like, when has A ever been a step behind? Aria and Emily go to leave to class. Spencer then goes to leave, and Hannah stops her. Hannah says, I know you're pissed about me destroying the flash drive, but just please don't shut me out. Poor Hannah. Maya and Emily hang out together. Emily's phone goes off to a text from her mom. And Maya's like, oh, yeah, that's right. She's like coming tomorrow to see your swim meet. Isn't that exciting? And Emily's like, you know, she's totally fine with me liking girls now. And Maya says, are you sure about that? Last time your mom saw me, she got me hauled off to camp. Emily says she's different now. And Maya says, I'll believe it when I see it. And, you know, they decide to quit talking about it and make out. The friends all hang with Kate at lunch. Spencer...
Hold on, I have a question. Why is Pam coming to the meet if Emily's not allowed to swim?
It seems like Emily is back on the team.
I thought, like, because later in the episode, Maya does a thing because she's like, if they're not going to let you swim, I'll give you your own, like...
Oh, right. Never mind. Yeah, she's just coming out to support the team because Emily's going to be there. Pam's just coming out so that she's going to be at the meet.
Got it.
That's
Yeah, I was like,
So then we'll just see each other then.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, are you going to the meet, Emily? I was going to go. And the friends all hang out with Kate at lunch. Spencer asks if Kate, is like, Kate, do you have family in Maine by any chance? Have you ever been to Maine? Kate's like, no. Spencer yells, debate. It's debate. That's where I know you're from. And Kate is just like, no, that's not it. And it's like, are you sure we haven't met before? And Kate's like, I'm pretty sure, and leaves for class. Spencer says, like, I know her, but I don't know how I know her. And Hannah's like, can you back off on this? Like, I can't have her reporting back to my dad that, like, my friends are giving her the third degree. Emily goes to her locker and sees a note attached. It says, did you miss me? And she's like, what? And then looks freaked out, but as her mom turns around and surprises her. And they reunite happily. Pam made them dinner reservations, and she asks, is there someone special you would like to bring? Emily says, it's Maya. And Pam's like, well, why don't you invite her to dinner? I never gave her a chance back then, and I'm glad for another opportunity. I guess they just don't talk on the phone. We are now in the girls' locker room as they're getting ready for PE. Aria's like, come on, let's go. Like, let's leave. And they all leave to PE, except Spencer stays behind and sees Kate struggling with her locker. And Spencer walks up knowingly and is just like, I know you. Horse Ranch, summer, 2006. My sister Melissa was a junior counselor that year, and you were in her bunk. Kate's like, oh my God, yes, okay, you win. I'm her. I'm who you think I am. So what's it going to take for you to keep it to yourself? And I was like, or Spencer's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not going to tell anybody. and like says, just so you know, Melissa sent me a bunk photo from that year. And if you hurt Hannah, people will know. Love this. Just have collateral to hang over your head. Boy, does this go somewhere. Emily goes to dinner with Pam. And as they arrive, they see Maya is talking to Noel inside the restaurant. The famous grill.
Also
Noel,
known as Luke Steiner, depending on when you're there.
During the day. Noel greets Emily. It's like, hi, Emily, and then goes and leaves. Pam then walks up and says hello to Maya again, and then they all goes to like find a table for him. Emily asks, hey, Maya, when did you and Noel become good friends? Maya's like, oh, he just helped me like when I was looking confused. It was all good. Like he's nice. And Emily's like, yeah, looks can be deceiving. Pam then comes back saying they got a table, and Maya's like, look at you go. You say jump, and they say how high. Holden and Arya meet up at an arcade for one of their fake dates. And Arya's like, Holden notices that Arya's just going to hang out there, and Holden's like, what's going on? Arya's like, well, my plans were canceled, but I didn't want to like hold it up for you because I know you had your stuff to do. And Holden's like, what a coincidence. Mine were canceled as well. Hey, let's just actually hang out here since we were both planning to be here. Like, anyways, like, how weird would that be? And Arya's like, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to read my book and not be pestered by you. Holden then remembers that her old favorite food order, and Arya's impressed. And then he coaxes her into going to play air hockey.
She likes the pizza that Noel Khan's allergic to. Cheese pizza with bell peppers.
I didn't even put that together. That's a good one. I like that. Could have never worked out between them. Back at dinner, Pam and Maya are having a very contentious meal. Maya is being, Maya is just kind of like trying to make things awkward for Pam in general. She gets a call on her phone, but then ignores it. And it's like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just my stalker. And Pam is just like, oh, like, is there what's up? What's happening? And Maya's like, it's all cool. It's this guy I dated. He's just having a hard time accepting things are over. Spencer and Hannah hang out for a movie night. Hannah asks if she's no longer in the doghouse, and Spencer's like, you were never in the doghouse. They both talk about Kate and how Hannah's just waiting for Kate to strike when she least expects it. Spencer says, I'm going to show you something to prove you have nothing to worry about. So, like, with this Kate stuff. And hands over her phone to show Hannah the picture. Hannah laughs, and she's like, it sounds like she had, like, bug bites, like, all over her face. This is, like, crazy. Hannah then scrolls through her photos and finds the picture of the ID. And is like, what's this? Spencer then comes clean about keeping the secret from her and having Caleb come over and work on stuff. And Hannah's like, I didn't realize you would be the ones to betray me. And then goes and leaves as Spencer tries to stop her. Pam gets up from the dinner table to go to the bathroom. And Emily is like, what the hell are you doing, Maya? Why are you torpedoing this dinner? You're always bringing up weed and True North. And why'd you bring up that guy too? You know my mom was just getting comfortable with me dating women. And Maya says, like, this is just a fact that I dated a guy. Like, what? And she's like, this is just, like, confusing for my mom. And then Maya says, is the fact, like, confusing for your mom or for you? Yeah, good question. Fitz hangs with all of his, like, professors at a gathering. Like, it's a nice faculty party. Another professor talks to him and is like, hey, I recommended you for an associate dean position at Hollis's satellite school in New Orleans. And Fitz is like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I will have to, like, think this over. Like, New Orleans, that's a far ways away. Professor says, well, I've got to be frank with you. Like, you were not on the short list to, like, be nominated for this. You've been working here for a couple months, and an associate dean's position seems pretty high. He doesn't say that. That's my editorial. And it's like, you weren't on the short list, but it was only because Byron Montgomery recommended you. And we cut to Byron in the corner, looking over and nodding, like, yes, shipping you off to Alaska. Fitz and Byron then stare each other down across the party. Hannah sits outside her house.
Okay, but like on the real, like Byron just got you a pretty cool job.
Yes, absolutely. You got an amazing job.
I would take the job and get the fuck away.
Right. This is a win-win for you, dude.
You were in way over your head. You gotta go.
Gotta get the fuck out of here. Gotta break it off with your fake high school girlfriend.
Or at least wait until she's an 18, which is still grooming. But like, good God, like just like go away.
Get out of here. Yeah. It's very funny because it's like the school version of like in like military thing. It's just like, yeah, he'll never talk. We're shipping him off to like a base in Alaska where we won't be able to ever tell the information about this operation ever went down.
I was thinking it'd be his true north.
Pretty much. But with Bourbon Street. Hannah sits outside her house as Caleb comes over. She says, I don't get it. I don't get it. It took me so long to trust you. Why did you do it? Caleb says, I thought you wouldn't find out until I figured out what you were trying to solve. Hannah says, you aren't the only one I'm trying to protect. This last year was horrible for me and my mom. We almost lost everything. We almost lost the house. And then comes clean about Ashley stealing the money. She says, I've never told anybody about that, not even my friends. Caleb says, thank you for choosing me. Hannah says, someone else knows and they're holding it over me. Caleb says, who? Hannah says, I don't know who it is, but it's their phone that you're working on. Exciting stuff. Hands in the air. Finally, one of the boys knows. I was wrong with how long it took, and I'm happy to be wrong. Holden and Arya are playing air hockey, and Arya is just kicking the shit out of Holden. And Holden... Maybe
that's where the bruise comes from.
Right.
It's the air hockey table.
Well, yeah, Arya's like fucking
knocks him in.
And Holden's like, hey, what happened like with your man? And like, how long have you been together? And Arya's like, we are not going to talk about that. Caleb then knocks on Toby's door. Well, he's going to see Jenna, so Jenna's door too, but Jenna happens to live at Toby's house. And there's no answer. He then goes to leave as Garrett pulls up in his cop car. Garrett asks what he was doing and who he was looking for. Caleb says, I wanted to talk to Jenna. Have you seen her? Garrett says, what do you want to see her about? If you're looking to get your like old job back, she has someone else. Caleb says, I know I was telling her to stop threatening Hannah and her friends. Garrett says, you have to be scarier than that if you want her to take you seriously, and then flashes his gun. Garrett gets back in his cop car, and as Caleb goes to walk away with his bike, pulls out in front of him.
A cab.
100%. Like, this is textbook, like, literally what they do. Like, flashing their gun, like, trying to intimidate you, and then, intentionally trying to make you feel small.
When a police officer tried to get 11-year-old me and my 14-year-old brother to go on visitation with my father and told us we were defying court orders. We were children, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
He put his hand on his gun.
Yeah.
And I noted it. And I was like, what are you trying to do there?
Like, really? Yeah. You're going to shoot a 14-year-old because
an 11-year-old.
Right. They won't go see their father. Jesus.
He's like, we could take your brother to juvie. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
Can't shoot him. The town's small, buddy. You aren't going to get away with that one.
I triple dare you. Good God.
But that's like, they've always been like that.
Yeah. You had a fun early experience. Isn't that just great?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's always surprising to me how this happens in the show, but
ACAB.
Yeah, it's text. Mm-hmm. Love it. Spencer knocks on Hannah's door, and Hannah lets her in. Spencer says it wasn't a betrayal; it was an act of desperation. Hannah says it doesn't excuse it. Spencer says A has taken everything from me, and I can't lose you too. And Hannah says you haven't, and they embrace. I feel good. The friends that are like the most disconnected from each other, but they're having a nice moment.
Spanna.
Arya and Holden are still at the arcade. Holden gets accidentally, as he goes to walk like to the bathroom, accidentally gets nudged by a waiter and slams into the air hockey table and like winces. And then lifts up his shirt to find like the grossest bruise you ever see. Like, it's like he's like turning into the Fly. And then he makes Arya promise not to say anything as Byron picks them up. Hannah and Spencer are in her room discussing the phone. Spencer says, we got nothing from the ID and it's a dead end. Hannah says, oh, I've if you had like pulled me in sooner, she doesn't say that, but it's like if you pulled me in sooner, you would have heard that I've seen Allie with dark hair before, like 2 years ago. There's a flashback. Hannah is going to the hairdresser and sits down in a seat. And the stylist walks over and is addressing a girl named Vivian. Hannah then looks over and sees it's Allison with dark hair. Hannah's surprised to see her, and Allison is like surprised to see Hannah as well. Hannah's like, "Oh, I like your hair." And Allison says, "Like, hey, just like don't tell anyone else. I just want to like change my hair sometimes, like, and like pretend I'm a different person, just like when I'm bored. Don't you just get tired of being you?" And then pulls off the wig and does like a big like hair toss. Back in the present, Hannah says, "I didn't tell you guys before because I thought it was just typical Allie weirdness."
Fair enough. Your friend's popular and she's strange as hell.
I was more worried about all the bullying she did to me. Spencer goes to the computer because the naming on the ID was Vivian Darkbloom. The name was an anagram for Nabakov when he wrote Lolita. Hannah then recognizes like the book with the glasses on the cover. Is like, oh wait, I know that, and walks over to a bookshelf and like pulls it off, and she's like, I stole it from Allison because I kept seeing her with it, and so I got curious, but I just never read it. Spencer then combs through the pages and finds a claim ticket for a dry cleaning place. Emily knocks on Maya's door, and Maya wonders why she's there because it's like in the morning and it's right before school. Don't you have a place to be? Emily says, I have a problem with you dating that guy because it's not because he's a guy. It's just I don't like you dating anybody else. Maya says, well, I'll come clean too. Like, I'm still mad at your mom for busting me. Can I show you something, Emily? And Maya brings her upstairs into her room as a way to apologize. And it's like this beautiful thing, like Emily said before, of like that it's like you can't go swimming. So I brought like the water to you. And it's like this, like all blues, kind of like reflecting, kind of makes it look like the ocean in a room.
An underwater oasis.
There you go. Maya says, I like to live life in the gray area, but the way I feel about you is crystal clear. And then says, I love you, Emily. They kiss, and then Emily says, I love you too. Spencer calls the laundromat, JNL, and says, hey, I just found my claim ticket. Like, it's been a while, and gives the caller a number. And it's like, wow, wouldn't you know it? We still have it. When would you like to come pick it up, Miss Darkbloom? Hannah opens her locker as Noel walks up behind her and says, thanks, Marin. You made my day. Hannah is confused as he walks away. The friends all walk up and says, what were you thinking, Hannah? Like, how could you do that? And Hannah says, like, what did I do? Like, what did I send? And they're like, you sent out a text like to everybody. And it's just like, what did I send you all? They then show her a picture. It's like Kate naked in the locker room. Arya says it was sent to everyone in your address book. They all then realize that A must have sent it as they look around as everybody's staring down Hannah in the high school. We then cut to a POV shot of a gloved hand in Peter Hastings' office. It looks like their like house office. And is like looking around the desk. The gloved hand then picks the lock on the desk and grabs a gun out of the drawer. The end.
All right. Why does Allison have a brunette ID? Why is she being Vivian Darkbloom?
Yeah. Spoilers for Theory Corner. I don't really have much else to go on. Yeah, it's. I feel you could be like onto something with the like Lolita reference that she is like doing some sort of dark stuff, but I just don't. There's like too little information at the moment for me to like be able to pick apart like why that's happening yet. I don't have any theories, but I think it could be like something like a way for her to like anonymously do things with other people. I wouldn't be surprised if like it's maybe another ID so she could like pretend to be a different person to like go see different types of people or older people, older men or something. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know yet.
Why is Arya lying about seeing Ezra to her friends?
I know. It's like funny. Like at this point, she's like, I guess that she would think that A wouldn't find out is like my read on that. But like A's gonna find out because like A knows everything and is like just following all y'all. So like what she doesn't want them implicated in it. It doesn't. The logic doesn't track because it's gonna blow up her face anyway. Like no matter what, whether it's with their friends, whether it's not, A's gonna find out and is gonna use it against her. So
yes,
or unless she thinks it's gonna get back to her parents, which it's not, because her friends are not gonna tell the Montgomerys. Oh no, gonna get called on in Ella's class, and it's just like, oh yes, the answer is your daughter's back with Fitz. Oh, sorry. That in the in the text.
Why are these girls called the liars, the pretty little liars, the worst liars in the world? Hannah calls.
Oh, they're so bad because it's one of their own.
They
You
can't
don't lie to one of your own.
That's why Emily could lie to Toby, but she couldn't lie to her friends.
Exactly. Yeah. Emily's not very good at it to begin with. She got an ulcer. But you can't do it to your own. Like they're tight knit crew. Like you think there's probably also the friction of like Hannah knows a lot about us too.
Why was Maya talking to Noel? Sus?
Put a little pin in that. We'll throw that out there. Yeah, I do think it's more than just like, oh, he's a nice guy and walked up to me.
Yeah, he was helping with the app.
Oh yeah, just this guy with the creepy smile.
Furthermore,
well, but I mean, everybody's charmed by Noel. We see all the bad things from Noel, but we are given to understand that he's a popular guy and like is football team and all that.
Maya has every right to be mad at Pam.
Yes. Oh my God. Maya, of course, has every right to be a shit at dinner. And I understand, I understand the Emily thing. It doesn't excuse it. She's in the wrong 100%. But I understand that she's like, well, like, I'm really worried about like this, how this is coming off to my mom because my mom holds all this power in our relationship, even though she lives far away. But this is how our family is structured. And that's like, that power dynamic is very important to be steady there. Because what happens if like that doesn't, she needed her mom to be bought in on like her sexuality, really. Because otherwise she was just being like petulant. She doesn't like, it doesn't completely excuse her, but like there's still like that part where it's really important for her mom to like be in on it. So then Maya's feelings are lesser. But Maya, of course, is just like, she got me sent away. This homophobic lady saw me smoking weed once, and then I got sent to a camp.
Found weed, didn't even see me smoking.
Oh right, didn't even see. Yeah, horrible. Yeah, no, she has every right to be a shit. So yeah, no, like, make a scene. Hell yeah.
Emily's biphobia? Question mark? Is that? Do we think that's what they were getting at?
I think that's what we're getting at. I think Emily is having a hard time processing that that's a thing. It's like, you are a binary. You are straight,
she still
or you are
thinks
gay.
in binaries versus fluidity.
Well, her Catholic background, it's really hard for her to overcome this.
I always forget Emily's Catholic.
Thank you very much. And so it's really hard for her to understand. There's no framing for this in the Catholic Church. You're either, straight or you're wrong.
Oh my God.
So I think that is what she's getting at. Is like, she's like, wait a minute, what? Like, you can like me and like, wait, but how does that compute?
Yeah, because I have to compete with boys too now.
Right.
Like I'm like, it's not a competition. You love who you love, baby.
Exactly. The only thing you do that's competition is swimming. Well, you can't do that right now, so.
Don't bring it up.
Sorry, Emily.
Will Ezra take the job? How powerful is Byron?
Byron runs Hollis. Very powerful if like this teacher that's been there for less than 6 months. Hasn't even been a full school year. And they're assigning him to associate dean position. There you go, 24 years old. And it's very funny, it's like New Orleans, this like satellite campus. And it's just like, it's not that far. I mean, it's a decent distance from Pennsylvania, but it's not bad. But I don't think he's going to take the job. I think we're in like no, I love your daughter. You can't get me shipped off. Which is, it's very funny. but Byron definitely pulls some strings.
Mm-hmm. Caleb learning about A.
Yes.
What do we think will come from this?
What I hope is that Caleb is now folded in. He's in the fold. So he gets like, he's more on top of being helpful. He's also probably there's gonna be some friction probably with, what I hope doesn't happen is that there's friction with Hannah on being like, I don't want you going out and getting and doing these like crazy plans that you all come up with. I mean, it's all really bad plans, but I hope it's not like that he's like goes into protective mode. That'd be really annoying. But I do think he's going to be more involved with like these things. And, you know, as their techno boy toy. And I don't know if they're going to find more stuff off the phone. I was surprised that they were still like pulling stuff off in these episodes because it kind of seemed like it had kind of gotten bricked. I guess he was like, I can still work on it and see what else we can get. But it seemed in the episodes before that it was just like, well, I just got this weird picture.
That was all he'd been able to get so far.
Got it. So, yeah, I think through Caleb, the avenue is going to be like, we get more answers, but he's not going to, you know, understand them. The
Garrett Caleb standoff.
Yes.
ACAB. I mean, that's all we got to say on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Garrett's the worst.
Absolute worst. Yeah, I think that's a great illustration of that, of just like how you're like, everybody goes and like shakes him down because it's like, you can't do anything because I'm a police officer. And yeah, I like the earlier scene too, where he's just like outside of a cafe. Yes, I remember you from the mission in Budapest. But yeah, I mean, you do have to watch out, Caleb. This dude's on you, and he's a cop.
What do we think Vivian left at the dry cleaners?
Yeah, it's a good question.
I like know this one, so I'm like,
oh, you do? Okay, yeah, I'm assuming it's pretty important. Yeah, because it's like what say important things could she have possibly been up to before the night that she died? And we just don't have any insight into that yet.
Well, it has to be something that can get dry cleaned.
Right. So like you know what? It's the Lady Gaga costume.
I don't think you dry clean Halloween costumes from the store.
Well, she didn't get one from the store. This is the dealer.
Didn't we watch her at the store buying it?
Yeah. You're right. Damn, my entire theory. Yeah,
you build a house of cards on the sand in a windstorm.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
Not sure yet because I don't have any idea of like what Allison was up to outside of the night that she died and on the Halloween episode. There's just not enough information.
We just don't know.
Yeah, good seeds. Like this is all exciting of like, ooh, we have a new personality of like those running around. People might know Vivian from. It's like you're gonna like run into that. And what else was she doing?
Maya's I love yous. How do we feel about Emily and Maya's romance?
I think she does truly care for Emily. I think she is still up to some ill shit.
Do you still think she's A?
Yes.
Okay. A comes for Hannah with the Kate photos.
Jesus. Yeah.
It's a horrible, the whole Kate. So Kate, if I could take this show and take a couple of things out. One, the Toby, Jenna shit gone.
Yeah,
it absolutely doesn't need to be there. Second, Tom and Kate.
Yeah.
And that whole plot line. From start to finish, it is just the worst plot line.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this turn. That's awful. Get into revenge porn is horrible.
And if you think about when this was happening, that was so common.
Yeah.
That was so common. Like that happened at my high school all the time.
Yep. That definitely happened at my school all the time. So it's rough. For sure. I was like, oof. Like pit in my stomach at the end of this episode.
It's unfortunately realistic.
Yep.
Especially at the time it was created. And that's why I'm like, oh, it's bad.
Yeah. So I'm hesitant on where it's going because it is such an intense topic. And unfortunately very relevant. Yeah. It's it's a real flip on someone that I'm trying to like also like go with my feelings on whether I think this is like earned or not. I guess it's trying to be like even the worst people, like I guess worst women in this case, like girls, are vulnerable to like this type of thing.
I think a lot of the messaging of the show is that regardless of how much authority and power you have as a woman, you're always going to be vulnerable.
Yeah. So yeah, I honestly I didn't quite know what to think of it as it came up, other than uncomfortable for the reasons I think they were totally intending to. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. I'm not particularly excited about it, but we'll see.
If it makes you feel better, I forgot this happened.
Okay.
So it's not as important as what's at the dry cleaning.
Right. Of course not. No. Right. So we'll see. Like, yeah, I'm just interested because if they to have it like it be
or
like now in the hair,
blocked out the memory. That's always an option.
To have it be like up in the air now for them to like have to deal with is like okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Good.
Yeah. And I don't like it exactly. And that like now it's all going to be blamed on the woman who did it.
Who took,
supposedly, quote unquote.
Yeah. Last but not least, who took the gun from Peter Hastings?
Yeah. I'm assuming I'm going to go with A out of anything else.
Okay.
Because I don't know quite yet like why someone would need the gun.
All right.
I don't think there was like enough floating around for like a threat to be exactly.
I think it'll be similar to like the scaffolding. Now we see like, oh, they show us this thing and then maybe later it comes up.
Chekhov's gun is that's everybody knows that. But the Hastings gun, now that's a new thing. We just know end of the act, it's going off.
Okay, and then if you're ready, if you'd like to take us to theory and timeline corners.
Yes. We got new things this week. So let us step into Theory Corner, everybody. Welcome. I say the theories and we all sit in the corner. I am still going with Maya being A.
Okay.
And that like meeting with Noel is like, I feel like I still like the idea of Noel being kind of like brought in by other people, not a mastermind on his own. Exactly. Just kind of this dummy like for hire, who's like okay with like doing like bad stuff.
Okay.
Which he seems like okay, dude, he's kind of an ass. And so Maya is like, happened to see him and like greet him, and they like synced up over whatever was going on.
Okay.
That's what I think is happening. And I still think that Maya has fallen for Emily, even though she didn't mean to. And so is even still doing things to the other, is like friends and things, but is like, feeling weird and regretful of like her relationship and like ties to Emily.
Okay.
Which, if that stuff ends up being true, if this theory ends up being true, it's a whole can of worms that we opened up there. Fully saying that for sure. So we'll see if that happens. I still think Jenna is a separate entity that is also doing up to bad shit. But is still like understands what is going on. And I'm curious, and is potentially also would know A and has been in contact with A. And that's how I know about like the phone stuff. And how Garrett would potentially know. I still also like Melissa being in there as an A, but like that's more like
what are
Melissa,
her and the baby doing?
Exactly. She's been off screen for forever. So God knows what that actually is. Fitz always being in there. Garrett Creeper. But I'm getting, less and less interested in that one just because of, like, he's kind of bad enough on his own.
He doesn't need that plot line.
No, and so, like, who else could it, like really be? It's a little up in the air. I mean, it could be Noel, but I don't know if I quite see that. The thought has crossed my mind that it could potentially be Mona, but I don't think so. And yeah, I just don't have a good idea for anybody else. It really does seem like it's probably Maya out of just kind of everybody else floating around, but like, I will be proven one way or another.
Lucas is off your list.
Yeah, yeah.
He's your red herring.
Exactly. Oh, there was something else that like popped into my head and I've lost it. Oh, so close. Oh well. But I still think probably Maya is my front runner.
Got it. Okay.
But we shall see. We shall see.
We shall see.
Pretty soon.
You got a couple more weeks, 3 more weeks.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, in 4 weeks we'll know. Yeah, so that's exciting. Oh, I do want to see if I can remember what in my notes I was like referring to that like popped into my head. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll forget about that for now. But the other ideas that it could be is again a twin twist of some sort. Or Allison again still being alive. But
So basically anyone but the liars is on the table and Caleb.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of people around the table.
True, the parents.
But I mean, yes, at this point, it's like, who can we make seem fishy? Holden, what is he up to? You know? So everybody's a suspect because we just have no other identifying details about A. Obviously not cool with Allie and the friends. That's all we know so far.
All right. And then did you want to update the timeline?
Yes. So we have an updated timeline to the night that Allison died. So everybody remembers my beautiful Google Slide skills. So I will take you through front to back of kind of where we're at now. So originally I had put that Allison visits Jenna at the clinic and threatens her. We don't know if that's true now.
Yeah.
Because
we don't know what was said.
Or if she was even there because they didn't find her in the booklet, or the sign-in book. So I put a big question mark over that and highlighted in red. As far this is a guess on some of these timeline stuff too. So that Allison arrives back in Rosewood via taxi, and they notice the Hilton Head luggage tags. Remember that? There's a lot of this. It was just like, oh yeah, remember these things? Jenna is picked up by Garrett from the clinic. Allison gives Emily the snow globe, and they're hanging out together. Spencer, Emily, and Hannah arrive at Spencer's house for the sleepover, and then Arya arrives by herself. Allison then arrives at the barn and scares all the friends. Allison and Spencer fight inside Spencer's house about Allison telling Melissa about Ian. Salad days. Toby sees Allison get in a car with a boy, unconfirmed, but we can think it's probably Ian because, that would lead to stuff later. We don't know about any other boys around that time that she could have been seeing, but she could have been seeing someone else. Potentially Noel. Arya wakes up to see Allison is missing and finds Spencer arriving back to the barn, who tells her that she couldn't find Allison. Allison and Ian meet up, make out, do whatever they do, and film the I Know You Want to Kiss Me video. Ian and Garrett and Jenna then search Allison's room and find the box. Then it spills over. We learn about the ID. They hear Allison. A struggle ensues. And ... We don't know what else happens at the end of the video. But we've gotten some more things happening right here.
We do.
Including extensions to the timeline more than we knew before.
And Toby's hair. Toby's flippy hair.
Yeah.
He's got flippy boy hair.
That
was all the rage then.
Oh yeah, that was absolutely the...
If you did your hair like that, you'd look like you had a mullet though, because your hair is so thick.
Yeah, probably.
You got so much hair.
But yeah, we'll stay tuned to see what happens with this.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to Zeri Corner. Bye-bye.
I love it. Any final thoughts?
Um.
I'm going to double check really quick that I'm positive that we get the A reveal at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, it's good mystery stuff going on. It's like, oh, what in the hell could all this stuff be? It's like nice little breadcrumbs moving us forward. And I think like the episodes just on themselves, they're on the whole, we're much better this week.
Season 2 finale.
Season 2 finale.
Season 2 finale.
All right. Pretty soon. Yeah. We'll have to do cards on the table, write out I don't even need to do sealed envelope because like this is my sealed envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we gotta break one before we find out. I'm so zeroed out, but I did find all the character stuff good this week, and it's very, very gratifying to have one of the partners brought in.
Mm-hmm. Do you think any of the other boys will be brought in before the end of the season?
I would like it to be Toby.
Uh-huh.
Maybe if I just will it into the universe, it's going to be Toby.
Okay, I love it.
I don't think so, though.
Is anyone gonna die?
That is a good
I'm
question.
just trying to think of like all the finale, like of a show things. You know what I mean?
I could see Garrett dying.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, I could see Garrett kicking the bucket.
Bye, Garrett. You know what? We're over you.
I guess because it's going to be like they're going to be meeting up with like whoever this like outside person A is, and then you figure out that reveal, and like a scuffle ensues, and like Garrett could get killed.
Who do you think will learn who A is first?
Oh, like just out of all the characters?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I bet it would probably be like Arya, as like our protagonist. But like Arya Spencer, I would say. And you know what? Get the money down on Arya.
Okay.
That'll be unless all the friends find out at once.
Fair enough. That's also an option.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of group discoveries.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God, it's
Clefairy.
Old Man Jenkins. Up to Scooby shit. But yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Well, any final thoughts?
That's it.
All right. Well, plugs. When we're not here doing this, sometimes I do other things. You can find all of those details in my Linktree. I talk on the internet. Sometimes I write it. Sometimes I say it. It just depends on what link you click.
And the other things have writing underneath them.
Yeah, they tend to have captions.
Yeah.
It's important.
But you can find it on Instagram and TikTok.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok and on my blog, and they're all in the Linktree.
There you go. You can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice or on YouTube at Dead Ends. You can also find us on Twitter at deadendspcast or deadendspodcast. And then you can send in emails to deadendspcast@gmail.com. If you want to write in with any of your theories or like thoughts on the finale, please mark them. It'd be great to have questions and things about it. But please mark them with a spoiler and don't put the spoiler in the first sentence because of how Gmail does the like preview text.
And then I can read them.
Right, exactly. So then like, you know, those can be quarantined to Emily reading them and then that. But,
and cackling quietly by myself.
Exactly. But it'd be great to have those like questions in so that'd be if you're looking at the calendar. So that would be if you could get them in the week of, because we'll be recording that week, like the week of August 9th. So it'll be, and that episode will be coming out on the 16th. So yeah, get those in.
All right. Well,
we're still here. We're going to find out everything. And see you next time.
Bye, friends.